Wow. Long time. I hope everyone's doing okay. Hope you're having a great day. It's a beautiful Saturday here in Los Angeles. You know, without going too far into what is going on in my head, the best way I can explain this is I had an itch. I wanted to make a video, and so here I am making a video. So before we get into why I'm here and what I'm doing, I want to say that, everyone's cool. Defcamp's doing well. Defcamp's working. Everyone's doing great. Life's good. Just like brief updates on that. Second thing is that I'm not playing World of Warcraft, or I'm not really playing video games much anymore to begin with. However, I just kind of wanted to make a video. Do you guys ever have the urge to do something you haven't done in a long time? I'm sure the answer to that is yes, but just recently I just been sitting here like, man, I could really go for making a video. I haven't made a video in so long. So that's why I'm here, guys. And I would like to make this a semi-regular thing. I'm thinking maybe once a weekend, make a reaction video. To be honest, it's low effort on my end. Work is very, very big part of my life. I don't have a lot of free time. Started a new relationship, and it's been going great. So there's a lot going on. But, the world moves on, and especially the world of gaming. And I think that making reactions to certain videos might be something fun to do, something to upload to the channel, because this channel exists and, it's got a lot of subscribers. 30,000 of you subscribe to this channel. And I think it would be stupid for fools to just let it sit. And I have fun doing this stuff. That's the most important thing. So that's why I'm here. So before I do start the reaction, tell you what I'm going to be reacting to, I like to say that if you want me to react to something you see on the internet, it doesn't have to be about gaming. It could be about science. That's my job. So I am a biologist. So if you wanted something explained, a scientific topic, or something debunked, maybe even something societal, I'll react to pretty much anything. There's certain things that I won't react to because it's just not in my realm of expertise, nor is it something I should be reacting to. So there will be limitations. But if you're interested in this type of format and you want Melderon to react to certain things, and gaming would be a priority because this is a gaming channel, put it in the comments, and I'll have a look at the comments and see what you guys link. YouTube videos, please. It's the best way to do that. And we'll go from there. So what today I'm going to be reacting to is a video. The person's name who uploaded is Jimmy, where the I is replaced by a letter 1. And it's titled RuneScape Doesn't Need Nostalgia. And Asmongold reacted to this. And this video that Jimmy made is a response to Asmongold's reaction to a previous video. So I'll be reacting to Asmongold's reaction of a video that was made to, as a response to his reaction of another video by this guy, Jimmy. So this is like a little bit of an inception of reactions, but I think it'll be fun. So I did watch a portion of this, so you know, so I do have some background of what's going on here. But I'm just going to let Asmongold talk and let Jimmy talk, and I'm going to stop at points that I think need to be elaborated, because this has a lot to do with World of Warcraft, which is where this channel started. So let's go.
Video RuneScape doesn't need nostalgia. Okay. And this is a reaction to my reaction to his video.
Old school RuneScape is often paired with the word nostalgia, which is understandable. It's in the name. Old school RuneScape. The game
Classic,
currently
wow.
stands in its 11th year of existence
Wow.
and takes place in the top 3 most played MMORPGs.
There
And
it is.
I'm
So-
here to
yes.
say that nostalgia has not been a driving force to get old
hot
school
take.
to where it is right now. In fact, I would argue that nostalgia has never been a true contributor to old school success. It's not the reason any of us are here. See, recently I made this video
That's a huge claim.
talking about the state of MMORPGs and what future
Which is abysmal, by the way.
they may or may not have. And naturally, being my video, OSRS came up a few times. And not to pump my own tires or anything, but I think it was a pretty good video. However, what I think about it doesn't matter, because one of you people decided to send it over for a peer review. Which, first of
Ooh,
all,
peer review.
You were supposed to send this one. I wanted that to be reviewed.
I never played WoW, so I tried all of them a lot. That might be a good video to react to. Wow. God, what would you guys give to go back and replay WoW for the first time over again? which gets into what this video is about, which is interesting. But let's move on.
I'll do that eventually.
Why has he still not watched this video?
Because
What am I even
it's
paying you
40
guys
minutes.
For? But it's fine because I
Come on,
I'll watch
Aspen.
it at some point.
of the peer review. That way I get the last word in,
Okay.
so I win arguments by default.
Look at this graph. This is terrible.
It's just beautiful.
Look at how good the motion capture is and how photorealistic Baldur's Gate 3 facial capture is.
Baldur's Gate. Listen, I have no room to talk. I'm actually bald. So, sorry, Asmon, but it's just funny.
Doesn't matter for
I
an
think
MMO.
that plays such a massive role in why. I don't think that I disagree with that. It doesn't matter for an MMO. Why not? Why the game is popular.
WoW doesn't even, when they're giving you a quest for the Alliance, he says, as he just said a novel of things to you, and I don't even think his mouth moves when he says for the Alliance.
Anyway, during this peer review, Asmon said something I've heard a lot.
If this game came out today, it wouldn't be as popular as it is. It only exists because people have nostalgia for it for 25 or 30 years. That's the main reason.
And that must have been the tip of the iceberg.
He's
for
not
me
happy
because
about
I
that.
opened a Word doc.
Okay, I mean, we're going to be restating this probably a lot, but okay, let's get rid of our biases here. Most of us here are World of Warcraft fans, right? Ask yourself this question: if World of Warcraft Classic came out today with no previous, like, there's no lore establishment, like Warcraft 3 didn't exist, right? Would Classic WoW get a player base? I think that answer to that question is undoubted. Like, yes. Now, whether that player base is significant to the size of, like, let's say games like Fortnite or, Elden Ring or all these very, very popular games, that I don't know. But I will say this is that the beauty of Classic WoW stands on its own without nostalgia and without prior lore that existed. Now, both of those things play a role, but I will say that the game itself, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty of why I believe this, but the game itself has the capacity to enamor players and enthrall them.
Document, and here we are. As someone who has two different old school RuneScape series that can be linked directly to nostalgia, I'm here to set it straight. When I say this, I'm not just talking about MMORPGs. Old school RuneScape is one of the greatest video games ever made. Nostalgia has not done the legwork to get it there. But
I agree.
I'm not in the mood to talk about it because I'm hungry and my personal chef is going to make me not hungry anymore.
Nice.
So give me a second, please. Hello, I'm not the same guy. I'm a chef. When Jimmy hired me, I didn't know how to cook anything. They told me to apply to as many jobs as possible and just lie on my resume.
But, oh yeah, I guess you must have watched my videos. I think that
Have you guys seen the $2 steak videos that, like, Asmongold has made? Man, they're great. They're great. Asmon, if you're ever in Los Angeles, I want you to hit me up and I'll make you steak.
by the way, I think nostalgia plays a huge role. It plays a tremendous, insurmountable role. And I think that we'll get a comparison because that new...
It plays a role. I don't think it's insurmountable. That's a very powerful word. And it neglects the genius that exists in the game development of a game like Classic WoW.
game that RuneScape, one of the developers or makers of RuneScape is making. What's it called? I think it's like something with it that starts with a W or something like that, like Shores maybe. Like what is it again? Brighter Shores. Yeah, there you go. Brighter Shores. Well, we're gonna have to wait and see. Yeah, let's see what happens because that's gonna be very similar to RuneScape. Now, obviously, it's not the same game, so it's like it's hard to really compare. But the reason why people asked for old school RuneScape is fundamentally nostalgia. It's in the name. That's the reason.
I can't disagree with this more. Asmon, I love you to death, man. I respect the hell out of you, and I think you're extremely smart, man. I'm not gonna, if for anybody who thinks I'm going to bash Asmongold here, that's not going to happen. But I just disagree with this. There is a subpopulation of people that literally went back to Classic WoW for nostalgia reasons. Oh my God, Asmon, I'm sorry for that. Pause. Hold on. Let me.
I don't.
Okay, that's better. So, look. When Classic WoW came out in 2019, there was a ton of people that went back to the game because of nostalgia. I made a video about it. It's called 2019 A Classic WoW Odyssey or something like that, right? And it's about going home again. How many times have you heard we're going home again? We're going home again, right? I'm not saying that doesn't have an impression on people. But what makes people stick around? It's not nostalgia, okay? Classic WoW is a sandbox, and it's a beautiful sandbox that has a lot of interesting toys that you can play with. And those toys are all based in human interaction. Human interaction is what keeps people around, whether that's in PvP or in PvE in forms of raids and dungeons and stuff like that, right? You can't do anything in the game that worth anything if you don't have people around. And you could say those people came in for nostalgia reasons, but nostalgia alone will never keep a game running long term. Now, and I'm not talking about season discovery. I'm not talking about hardcore WoW here. I'm talking about WoW, classic WoW, with world buffs, with all of the idiosyncrasies and all the things that made it beautiful. That may not, on paper, make sense. So, people, I think it's doing a disservice to people who have been playing private servers for years before Classic WoW was officially released, and saying that their interest and the meta building was based on nostalgia alone. Nostalgia may get you to the door. It may get you to the door of the party, right? But getting into that door and staying at that party is the interactions that happen with people inside the party. I'm just like using an example of you going to a house party or something, right? So I agree that nostalgia is extremely important, and it probably helped Classic WoW's interest and immensely, especially with the official release. But I don't think you could say that with private servers, because I was playing Warlords of Draenor, and I was having a terrible time. And I was like, man, what would I give to go back to a time where classes felt like classes, spells felt like spells, interaction felt like interaction again. That was what drove me. It's game design that drove me. And yes, there was nostalgia behind that. My childhood experiences I've had. But my experiences in private servers and my experiences in Classic WoW were wholly different from my experiences when I was, well, not a child. I started playing WoW when in my 20s. I'm old. So, it's just a lure, man. Right? But a lure sometimes isn't enough to reel a fish in and to keep that fish hooked. So, look, we'll get into this more and more, and I'll give you specific examples, but this is my stance on this.
I don't know what to say.
And I didn't think I'd actually get hired. For a while, I was just kind of opening his fridge and staring blankly. Worked for a few weeks, but I really had to figure something out. So I learned about HelloFresh. Never again did I need to think about what I was gonna cook. They told me what I was gonna cook, and they gave me everything I needed. This is what chefs dream about. They make it foolproof. And all this stuff comes in beautifully packaged from...
I've tried HelloFresh. It wasn't very good. I got a $10 coupon where I got like a week's worth of food for $10, and I'd be stupid not to take that, right? And I cook a lot, so it's one of those things where the recipes were kind of interesting, but like I could just look up recipes and make it myself. I can go to the grocery store. I don't know why people need this, but I'm old, so if you guys can explain me why HelloFresh is interesting or good, let me know.
From a farm. They've got about 50 different recipes. By the time I cycle through all of them, he thinks it's a brand new meal. He forgets, so he still hasn't caught on that I'm doing this. I don't know if any of you have been to a grocery store before. It's not for me. The other day he said he was in the mood for a barbecue, so I told him I've catered
I like barbecue.
Barbecues.
I love barbecue.
So do I.
Stuffed burgers. Totally bought it.
Burgers are amazing too.
Grill before. He took me on vacation with him. Thought my cover was blown, but I can literally send it to where I'm vacationing. He never found out. I snuck the link in the description. He's never gonna see it. Go to that. You'll get 10 free
That's a good ad.
and free
It's a very good ad.
It is a very good ad.
People are gonna think you got ratatouille
This guy's-
on your hat. Use that code.
This
Thanks
guy's
to
grinding,
HelloFresh
man.
for sponsoring this video
That's a good
and
one.
getting me this job. Nostalgia in the video game world
Yes.
has become very messy, because nowadays it's pretty common to weaponize nostalgia into this marketing tactic. Just a little party trick they pull to make a quick buck.
Member
At the
berries.
expense of us remembering what it was like when our life
It
was...
used to be good. Yeah, I remember how it used to be. Back in my day, You know, I used to be on vent.
simple and,
Yep.
and happy. Very kind of them.
So, it used to be good, that's true. But in my experiences, private servers and even Classic WoW were better than my original experiences. For how many of you is that true?
Most recently, you can look at the Star Wars Battlefront collection. the
Ooh, that was
classic
bad.
collection. When that thing was first announced, I thought I was going insane, seeing all the positivity surround
with your
the
dollar.
announcement of that. Because everyone's just going bananas for this big release of the classic collection.
I can't imagine, like, because so remember whenever, I think it was Bluehole, whenever they made the remake of Demon Souls, and it was just this amazing fucking like 4K quality PlayStation 5 like incredible game, and it was the same price, I think, almost at least, as just a fucking reskin. Like, what? How do you do that?
if it wasn't this available thing to everybody with a semi-running computer. What was
it
that
Blue
about?
Point? I don't remember.
$30 for a texture pack.
Blue
It's
Point.
that
Yeah,
kind
maybe.
of thing in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, the monetization of nostalgia is rampant, right? How many original ideas have you seen in movies specifically? I think movies is the biggest thing that really with this hits. They're making a re-release of like what was it? Beverly Hills Cop? Like really? Like Eddie Murphy's like what, 60 something? Why are we gonna go watch that? And I think TV is different. TV has a lot of but it hits TV as well. We can get into that in another video if you want to react to something. But like, yeah, this is the nostalgia market is huge. But I will say again, the success of Classic WoW has less to do with nostalgia than any of those things.
That has put this negative connotation around the word nostalgia. Things like remastered games, their goal is for a quick cash grab, very short term. Get everyone to purchase it, never look at it again. But with a situation like old school RuneScape, it's not really the case of releasing something once and then forgetting about it just to make money for a second. Jagex really didn't want to do this whole old school idea, coming up with basically every excuse in the
And we know Blizzard didn't want it either, right? We all know that.
book not to do it. I'm sure most of you have
Oh, there it is.
seen
I'm familiar with
There it
that.
is.
You know, you think you do,
But you don't. Yep.
Vanilla WoW received.
JL
and
on
asked the
crack.
question. Didn't exactly
That
age
guy.
that well, but honestly, Jagex did the exact same thing. They just didn't do it during a live streamed event. Not only was there a petition that content creators rallied communities to go.
We had the same
behind,
thing.
There was also a private server that had about
There you go.
390,000 registered accounts, which Jagex
Jesus.
shut down. And if
Of
none
course.
of those things happened,
That's actually kind of crazy that the exact same thing happened for WoW.
Exactly.
I didn't know the history of this.
I did not either. So fully admitting, I've never played OSRS. Okay, I know what it is, of course, but I never played it. But it's amazing how it mirrors this, and this is another reason why it's not nostalgia, guys. Nostalgia doesn't cause people to do things like this. I'm sorry, this is a huge effort because see, private servers spark something in people, right? They may have went back for nostalgia. That could be one of the main reasons they went back. But what keeps people around is the sandbox of human interaction that Classic WoW facilitates that no other expansion ever did at that level. We can go into examples, and I will. This is a long video, but let's get through it.
This is really interesting. Because, yes, this exact thing happened for WoW. What the fuck? It's like an alternate reality.
It is.
Couldn't have gotten the poll from Jagex themselves, just to be sure that we really wanted it. Jagex knew that nostalgia is a short-term feeling. You don't just constantly feel nostalgia.
Thank you.
It's this thing that hits you. It might stay with you for a little bit. Players wanting to feel nostalgia was not enough to justify putting a bunch of resources into. What Jagex didn't understand was that this was not an outcry or a demand to feel nostalgia. Nostalgia really wasn't what people were thinking about when all of this was going down. This
It's
was
game
all an
quality.
expression of
It's design quality.
It had to have been what everybody was thinking
No.
about. Because fundamentally, they're all saying, we want the old thing back. And they...
Okay, so you have to define what nostalgia means, Asmongold, right? I think that's important. Nostalgia is, yes, it's the desire to re-experience something, right? But here's my point, is that we are never re-experiencing the same thing. You can't step in the same river twice. You can never go home again. Those two tenets, right? We all forget them because we're humans. We all say, yeah, we could definitely go home again. We could definitely step in the same river twice. And that's what gets us in that mode, and that's what gets us into that interest. But what keeps us around is the fact that we did not step in the same river twice. We did not go home again. Right? We had new experiences with new people in ways and dimensions we never did previously. That's why people keep playing Classic WoW, because each fresh that happened on private servers were attached to completely different experiences. You may have rolled a new class, you may have rolled a new faction, you may have been with a different group of people, you may have tried PvP when you didn't do it before, you may have tried PvE when you didn't do that before, you may have tried to get like certain mounts or certain PvP ranks, whatever those things are, those are new experiences. And Classic WoW is a sandbox that lets you do that over and over and over again without getting tired. Now, of course, is there diminishing returns? Yes, everything in the world has diminishing returns. But for people like me, the slope of that diminishing return is extremely small. The slope is small. The downward slope is not very precipitous.
Signed a petition because of that.
Resentment towards the decisions that Jagex was making, turning the game into something that players didn't recognize anymore. Have you ever been playing a sandbox game? You're about 20 hours into it. Things started becoming more complicated.
How is this not nostalgia?
You're micromanaging things. You're kind of just really missing that early game. It's just a very congested feeling you're getting.
What is the definition of nostalgia?
Oh, here we go. So he's going to look
a
it up.
Sentimental longing or wishful affection for the past.
Right.
So let me get...
Which is not possible. Nostalgia is an unobtainable thing. Hence it's unobtainable. You cannot attach the success of a video game to nostalgia. You can attach interest to it. You can attach account creation to it. You can't attach a thriving long-term server or infrastructure of people or guilds.
Get this straight. People wishing for an old school version of the game is not nostalgia. Am I taking crazy pills? I feel like I'm crazy. What?
There might be some long-term decisions that you made that you're really not enjoying anymore. Suddenly you find yourself pushing all this progress away and starting fresh with a new game. That way you can create a different path and make different decisions that you know will affect you later down the line. I think that's more of the feeling that RuneScape players were having. Jagex was screwing up our playthrough. Things felt wrong, and we wanted to go to the main menu and start a new game, redo a couple thousand decisions. So Old School launched February 22nd, 2013. Players logged into a server that was a backup of the game from August 10th, 2007. It was as if players had traveled backwards in time 5.5 years. So for the first couple weeks, the average player...
Well, that's a quick turnaround. So for us, it was much longer than that, right? So it was, what, 2004 to when was... Jesus Christ, 2019. I mean, you can count private servers were much... I mean, technically, private servers were built for Classic WoW and Burning Crusade era, but if you want to do Blizzard's Blizzard official, it's like 15 years. So, holy shit. 5.5 years is pretty damn good compared to ours.
Count was about 40,000, peaking on day one with 65,000 concurrent players. But about 3 months after launch, Old School RuneScape was averaging about 17,000 concurrent players. And by August... about 12,000. The main game was consistently holding more players than Old School, and the reason that it was declining was very simple. There's no updates. I mean, there were some quality of life improvements here and there, but I mean, the first original content that Old School got was Nightmare Zone, and that's just about the most boring thing you can do. It's content built for you to look away for 10 minutes. They also got Rooftop Agility, which, I mean, it's cool, but I mean, it's still agility. Those updates we were getting were simply not enough to keep players excited. And I don't know if you could tell, but nostalgia was definitely not keeping players there. But here's the plot twist. I believe that the lack of nostalgia was exactly what the game needed. The game was just kind of sitting here with nothing happening to it. The difference between...
Okay, so I think I know where he's going with this. He's going to go with things like Season Discovery, Season of Mastery, right? Changing things up. This is probably an unpopular take, and that's fine. But I don't think Classic WoW ever needed that. I think it should have progressed from Classic to Burning Crusade to Wrath of the Lich King. As you can see, the interest in the game went down, not up, this time around. And that's pretty clear. But I don't think we should have messed around with Classic at all. I don't agree with Season of Mastery now. I have different thoughts on world buffs, which I can get into. But I think all we needed to do really was maybe do one playthrough where we had Classic TBC Wrath, and I would have kept those existing, actually, and then I just would have kept freshing them. That's what I would have done if I was Blizzard. Now, you could say that that's going to get stagnant, and of course it can, but like private servers did this for years, right? And people just kept playing them. I don't think Classic WoW players, we don't need this, like, I don't have this innate need for Classic WoW to be the most popular game of all time in order to play it, right? And of course Blizzard's trying to make money, so they're going to try these new things. But what I've been hearing from people with Season of Discovery, it's not that great, and it gets old, and things were messed up, like tweaked with too much, right? I think maybe adding a spell or two is fine, but when you start doing like these huge shifts in gameplay and class design, like you're really messing with something you don't understand. I don't think any of us understand why Classic WoW works. Honestly, like no one can actually create an equation as to why it works. Yeah, we'll keep going, but I just think that freshness is what we needed, right? I think keeping alive Classic TBC and Wrath is all you really needed.
Between this 2007 world and the original 2007 world, players with...
Sorry, real quick caveat. I understand the problems with like GDKPs. That is a situation that I agree with Asmongold 100%. I don't think GDKPs are the problem. The problem has always been Blizzard's lack of adhering to their terms of service and protecting their terms of service and enforcing the terms of service. That is the issue. Has always been the issue. Blizzard's lazy and doesn't give a fuck. Let's just make that clear. So GDKPs are fine. It's an emergent gameplay, and you can go back and listen to Kevin Jordan and all those guys talk about how emergent player decisions and emergent player behavior is the goal of an MMO. And GDKPs are an example of that.
Their developing adult minds saw this whole big sandboxy world from a whole different perspective, which sparked new ideas that had never been tried before. What if you were
now he's explaining Season of Discovery. This is what happened with Season of Discovery and WoW. It's just that the decisions that Blizzard added in were bad.
Yep.
Basically, Season of Discovery is like if instead of having a polling system like RuneScape has, you just have people that don't understand why the game was popular. And like I like the Season of Discovery team, but they have... I don't think that some of them understand why Classic is popular.
Like I said, no one does. So stop fucking with it.
I don't think they get it. So many bad decisions, yeah.
Last person on Earth, and you logged into an old school RuneScape
made it into retail?
It's
Yep.
just you and this video game. How hard would that be? Well, I mean, I don't know. Let's try it. How about? Yeah, this is cool. This is working. But what if when we did this, we only had one life? You're not allowed to die, or it's a permadeath.
Yeah.
You know, it's done. That's adrenaline pumping. Let's do it. Let's try it. But let's go.
Hardcore is much less invasive than Season Discovery, and I think Hardcore Realms were a good idea. It's a different gameplay element within the original world. That's why Hardcore is great. Now, Blizzard went crazy with it a little bit, but I think that having Hardcore options or realms is a great idea. And I don't consider that to be messing with the ecosystem too much, especially if it's just a server option.
This is always so crazy for me to listen to this because it's just like every single one of these parallels is the exact same to WoW.
Yeah.
deeper, you know, let's hear me out. Let's get a little crazy here. What if you couldn't use a bank? Limited to 28 inventory slots.
Yeah.
Could you do that? I mean, I store hundreds of things in the bank. Surely that's not possible. Or is it? Let's try it. I just got a crazy idea. We've only got these 28 inventory slots, no banks, that's it. We also lock ourselves to a certain region of the game. Let's try that. It's crazy, I know, but like, think of all the things we have to discover, all the methods that no one's really ever thought of or tried. Because you'd have to be stupid to try them, but that's all we have. Did you know the map is made of chunks? What if we locked ourselves to chunks? We have to unlock one.
That's a cool idea.
Clue scrolls are how we progress. Chronologically time locked, cave locked.
Jesus.
No light, please, like me in real life. Tile locked, one square. The square.
I love how this was community driven, by the way. Right? They had the polls and stuff, and as far as I understand, correct if I'm wrong, this is something we should have had, instead of just devs just making decisions or players. Sorry, what I meant by players is certain individuals, right? Maybe highly influential players. This should be up to the community. And we should have done this. This would be really cool.
Players in the game, one at a time. Skill locked, only some skills. One inventory.
Because in my opinion, voting would stave off a lot of the crazy stuff that the devs incorporated into like Season of Discovery and Season of Mastery.
Slot, it's all I know.
Oh my God.
No guides, don't look at prop hunt, I'm an item now. One hit point permadeath, lock me out.
Jesus.
Leagues. We take all those ideas, make them fast now. Go. And we're still not trading anyone. Unless it's with your friends, group of 5.
Ooh, I remember this.
So we
That's
need a
cool.
game show, 4 seasons of it.
Yeah.
Quest guide, 1 sec.
Great, the whole world is PvP, but if you're the last one standing after a couple weeks, you get real life money. Make a series, 86 episodes in a Rice Mountain.
Jesus.
No shoes, we're feet locked off, no magic. Only Slayer, that's it. Where are we? Where am I? What year is
What is this?
Over 10 years later, we've all collectively made one of the greatest communities in all of gaming, currently averaging 110,000 concurrent players every day. And you know
That's
what?
cool.
I'm a fair guy. I'll lower our player count by 20%. That way, we've
For
only got
bots. 20% for bots. I wonder what our number is. But, see, this is what I mean. 88,000 concurrent players on a video game is more than enough to create a stable ecosystem forever. Right? And you say, yeah, Melderon, but yet overall, over time, people are going to like get too old or have kids and all this stuff. But I still believe that Classic WoW has the capability to pull in new players because of the imperfect perfect sandbox that we have in that game.
70,000 more average.
That's a lot of
The
people.
Old school devs deserve credit where it's due, because after they realized that updates equals interest, original content was constantly being pitched, pulled, and then developed as the players helped shape the direction of the game. While most of the updates stay true to
I don't think that any of this, by the way, counters what my argument was. Basically, all of the updates.
It does. It does because nostalgia doesn't keep people alive playing a game this long. It doesn't spawn new insights. It doesn't like want the drive. It's because the base is good. The sandbox is a good sandbox. It's a fun sandbox. It is a sandbox. That's another part, right? That's the key.
Updates and all of the content that's added into old school RuneScape is built into the game in the context of the game being a fondly remembered game from people's childhoods. So yeah, you're right, the new content isn't necessarily nostalgia, but nostalgia is a driving factor that gets people to stick into the game. It's not
It's a driving factor to get people maybe started and interested, but it's not to stick into the game.
I think that's what's going to happen. And again, I think that's the same thing with Classic WoW. Like, if Classic WoW came out today, you know, for example, and nobody had any nostalgia for the game, I don't think it would be anywhere near as popular as it was in 2000.
I don't think anyone's arguing it would be near as popular. Like, again, the nostalgia has a factor to get people interested, and the existing lore and IP is another huge part of that we're ignoring here. But without those two things, if Classic WoW just came out of the ether today, with maybe today's graphics, but the same fundamental part of the game, the same sandbox, it would fucking kill, dude.
and 4.
Because MMOs today are fucking trash.
And I think that it wouldn't have been anywhere near as popular as it was in 2019. I think the truth is that nostalgia is such a huge factor, and it's something that permeates the DNA of the game. I think if you look at, for example, a lot of the content creators for the game, a lot of them are mainly older guys. And
That's
what
true.
a surprise, because there's probably a lot of older people that play the game. So what's the average age of people that play RuneScape? What are the average age?
This is kind of a it's a little bit of a straw man. I think that just because a game is old doesn't mean that people can't appreciate it today, right? And yeah, I am old because I played the game when it came out, right? If let's say that Elden Ring was an MMO, right? And they kept adding bullshit into Elden Ring. People, today that are young are going to be old when they want it back because it was better, not because of nostalgia. Like, I see Asmon's point, I do, and I think that it is a point in some way, but I don't think has anything to do with the quality of the game. Like, people, when you watch, like, the new Star Treks, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. The new Star Treks are not great, right? Now, do I go back to watching The Next Generation because of nostalgia, or do I go back to because of its quality? It's quality, right? Every time I watch it in a new light. I have more experiences. I'm older. I haven't seen this episode in 10 years, and now I get something different in my life. I've experienced something that maybe have changed my mind on certain things. Star Trek The Next Generation is watched today, but not because of its age, not because of nostalgia, because it's good.
Ages of people that are interested in the game, and how long have they played the game? I think that many of them have played it for a massive long amount of time.
And we're still not tired of it.
We played it, 30 plus, right? So how is it that you have an audience of people that are 30 plus that have played a game for 10 years, and you don't think that nostalgia has any impact on that? You don't think that that's not a foundational
Quality.
reason why it's happening? Of course not. It's like WoW. It is like WoW. And I said that in my video. I said, and this is what my point was, right? Was that every single MMO is trying to go backwards to 2004 and be World of Warcraft, and no other MMO is trying to be what an MMO needs to be in the year 2024 or 2025.
What does an MMO need to be in the year 2024 or 2025? And why isn't it what Classic WoW was in 2004? If the argument is people have less time now, kids, when I started playing, I had a lot of time, right? So young people are always going to have more time than older people to play. If a new game came out right now, and it had the quality of Classic WoW, the sandboxiness, the capability for human interactions to spawn in the same way, it would do well. The problem is that no one's creating those games. They're just bad games.
That's my point that I was making. It's not whether RuneScape is a better game than WoW or not, but both of these games are fundamentally reductive. This type of combat and gameplay and graphics are tremendously reductive, and they put off a lot of people. And I think that a lot of the people that enjoy games like this enjoy these games because of the fact that they're older and they have nostalgia, maybe not even for RuneScape, but for this kind of a game.
Not a bad point. All right. So there is some, but in my opinion, MMOs are historically always been simplistic. And the reason is because to create an MMO, you have to create an environment where a class has to interact with another class, right? Like rogue with a wizard, or, a warrior with a priest. These interactions have to exist. And there's nothing that says that that interaction has to be complicated. Because the more complicated you make that interaction, the more limited you make it to a player base. Classic WoW is simplistic, okay? In the fact that bosses aren't that hard. Rotations are not hard at all. But maybe that's why it's popular, right? It's not about skill in rotations. It's about your ability to interact with individuals. That's what makes Classic WoW good. It's the sandbox. Now, if Classic WoW was 10% more difficult, would it make it 10% more popular? I don't know. You could argue that maybe that's the Burning Crusade. It's 10% more difficult, but it wasn't 10% more popular. In the timeline of concurrent subscribers, it was more popular, but that's because of the growth of WoW. But we saw in the re-release of Classic versus TBC that Classic had a much bigger pull. So I don't think that an MMO needs to be complicated or complex for it to be good. Classic WoW had one difficulty level in raids, allowing everyone to play, allowing people to kind of sleep in certain fights and take care of their kid or do whatever they had to do, right? I think the ease of interaction makes it a better MMO.
I'm amazed that that's and by the way,
and yeah, you're going to say, okay, well, someone taking care of their kid is older. We can use any excuse. You could say that some younger guy is working on his college paper while he's raiding, right? But they're still interacting.
It's not that RuneScape would fail. It's not like, oh, if it wasn't for nostalgia, it would fail. And it does get new players. It does. But to say that nostalgia is not a massive driving factor for why the game is popular is completely naive. And I think it's the same thing with Classic WoW. Like, if Classic WoW released, like, now, and there wasn't nostalgia, I don't think it would have been there either. I think RuneScape is probably... I think it is probably one of the best MMOs of all time. It's not even a question.
Of course.
Like, it's undeniable that it is. Like, what RuneScape accomplished is something that I would say in a lot of cases no other MMO has accomplished. So I don't want to take anything away from RuneScape, but to act like releasing something like this today would, with no context at all of, like, the way that these games used to be or anything, I don't think that's true in any capacity, because there have been a lot of games that have been released that kind of fit into that nostalgia like category. They're like, oh, this is like the old games, but they're just bad, and people don't really like them.
Yeah, they're bad because they're bad. Classic WoW's not bad. I think we could somewhat objectively say that it's a pretty successful model for what an MMO can be. But it's everything comes together, right? And I think the point is that nostalgia, ignoring nostalgia is stupid, right? I mean, I'm not ignoring its power, but I'm saying that it drops off. Its effect drops off non-linearly as the game progresses.
They don't really stick around and play them at all because they're not very good. What really drives these games is nostalgia.
No, it doesn't drive him. It doesn't drive it. It's a factor in its initial popularity.
Nothing else survived like OSRS, but it isn't like RuneScape. Yeah, it is. Nostalgia only plays a factor on launch, and it diminishes very fast. I completely disagree.
That's exactly what I said.
I think that every time that you hear a song that the game plays where it's like, oh, yeah.
The dopamine hits that are associated with those things, and I understand what you're saying, Asmon. I don't think that hits the nostalgia part of your brain. I think it just hits the it's an epic feeling you get, right? And yes, the way the brain is built is that there's connections that are created when certain things happen for the first time, right? And then so in that way, I think that he's hitting on something interesting. But if the game sucked, no amount of Elwyn Forest music or Ashenvale music is going to keep me playing the game. No amount of non-interaction, like if I'm not interacting with people, right, that's not going to keep me going. And you hardcore people who play hardcore, like, you don't have a human interaction really, unless you're doing a duo or unless you're doing dungeons, which is a huge part of the game. But what keeps you guys playing? It's the challenge, I would say, and the sandbox that the challenge interacts with. I don't think Ashenvale music is keeping you guys playing.
I'm going to listen to this song, and it's like, this reminds me of when I was in high school or something like that. And it's not that, like, so this is an example. It's not that nostalgia is the reason. It's that, like, if you have a pie chart, I think nostalgia is a very big slice of that pie chart. And I think that without the nostalgia,
you can make a pie chart, but here's the thing. The pie chart has to have a time dimension. So the pie chart in the beginning of the game, nostalgia probably has a huge portion of that pie chart. But as the game progresses, if you sample the player base somehow and you try to quantify nostalgia as being part of that pie chart, it's going to diminish over time. But the point is, there's still going to be player retention though.
The game would probably not be as popular as it is, and it probably wouldn't have taken off in the same way. And I think this becomes proven evidently whenever new games come out and they try to capitalize on a nostalgia vibe, but they don't really have the nostalgia going for them.
Can you guys give me an example of one? Because I haven't seen a game that's tried to do this. Like, okay, so what? How can you recapitulate classic WoW? I don't know if people can do that. So I don't know what the example of this is, but you know, and so popularity has a big part of this too, right? So in evolution, we study niches, ecological niches. And if a bird exists in a certain niche that eats insects, if you create the same bird but a different species so they can't interbreed, and they're fighting for the same insect, only one of them is going to survive. And in this situation, the one that's already in the niche is going to survive. You can't replace WoW in that same niche because it's got to be better than classic WoW in order to replace it in that niche. There's only X amount of people that live in that niche, players that live in that niche that the bird is vying for. Let's say we're the insects that the bird's eating, right? Let's say there's only 100,000 of us, and the classic WoW bird is really good at eating those insects, and that species is not going to be displaced by a new species unless it's better adapted at that niche. I don't think anything will be better adapted in classic WoW, and that's why this is happening, not because of nostalgia.
Nostalgia isn't the reason, but it's a reason. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
They're super inaccessible because they're built for people that are already familiar with it. Yeah, I think that's another factor.
That's exactly what I was saying with the bird thing, by the way.
The RuneScape community too, like most of the updates that they're doing, and I'm speaking from ignorance here, so I don't really know this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the updates that they do are for veteran players. They're for people that have played the game for a really, really long time. Well, I guess it's everyone that I hear about.
I mean, that's technically true with Season of Discovery, right? Because if a new player came into the game, they wouldn't have had enough experience with the original meta to want to change. So I get what Asmon's trying to say, but I don't know how that ties to nostalgia. It's just an existing player base.
Okay. Yeah, totally different, actually. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Like, whenever I see updates and, like, new content being added, I always hear about it whenever it's, like, a new boss or something like that, but I'm not really sure. But either way, I think nostalgia plays a massive factor with games like this. And in my opinion, I think it is the biggest factor.
I disagree.
I do.
Completely.
It is, and I think it is insurmountable.
The biggest feature is the sandbox, is the quality.
Level of nostalgia that people have, because no other game can go back and be the game that you grew up with in high school or middle school.
I said this already. So why is it nostalgia then?
It is insurmountable. And I think the same thing is true with WoW.
You're proving my point, like Asmon here. Okay, yes, you can't step in the same river twice. I said this before. Well, then why are they still popular? It's not nostalgia. It's the game quality. It's the sandbox. It's the interaction.
I think the same thing is true with RuneScape. I think it's true with a lot of games. You can't beat that. And you can't act like that's not a huge reason.
This nostalgic aesthetic, there is nothing nostalgic about this gameplay. And that's completely okay. Old school RuneScape.
Of course it is. This is the original game. The graphics, the style, the numbers, the design, it is.
Right. So, okay, going back to what I said about if Classic WoW came out today with updated graphics, there would be no nostalgia attached to those graphics, but it would still do well because of the sandbox, because of the interaction, because of the quality of the game, because of the idiosyncrasies, because of all the things that make Classic WoW good, right? You have to give Classic WoW credit and the developers credit by removing the nostalgia part. Just experimentally, let's remove the nostalgia and let's remove the existing IP. Classic WoW should be respected to stand on its own because of its own quality.
Is a standalone game. I promise nostalgia itself is never going to be the reason that we are seeing growth. Like I was saying, in a way, the lack of nostalgia is what got us here. New creative directions for both players and devs to take. And it's funny because 4 years ago, I could have swore we were almost out of ideas. There's no way we keep coming up with things.
It's literally classic. It's nostalgic by definition. What's going on here? I honestly feel like I'm taking crazy pills right now. You have a game that's called old school version of the game, and people are saying it's not being fueled.
What are you going to name it? Right? So old school, I would argue, is much more connected to nostalgia than the word classic, because classical music, right? I think that's not the same. No one listens to Beethoven because of nostalgia, because no one was alive then, obviously. But, you know, classic to the point where it's a classic version of an MMO, right? That's how I look at it. And that's why I like it, because it is the classic MMO. Now, you can ascribe that to nostalgia as much as you possibly want. But in my opinion, and in my situation, it's attached to the style of game, the quality of the game, the interactability in the game.
By nostalgia. Nostalgia is literally, that's the name. I don't understand.
Again, what are you going to call it? You can call it classic RuneScape.
Forward to now,
does that remove it?
Think is, I can't wait to see 4 years from today and see what crazy shit we've done. Because with this player base and all the possibilities that we've discovered and still discover, I've got no idea. Anyway, while I have
it's not 100%, it's like 25%. You're right, it's not 100%. I never said it was. But it is a huge factor, and I think out of all the factors, it is the largest proportional factor. I think that if you took that away, a game like this would not catch on in the same way that it did today.
Yes, catch on the same. I agree with you, Asmongold. But again, you have to explain the continued support and why people still want freshes, right? Like, I guarantee you, if Blizz was like, we're gonna create a new fresh, like coming in September, we're not touching a fucking thing. We're just gonna fresh classic WoW. You're gonna have enough people interested to have multiple servers, PvP and PvE, and that's all we care about. That's all we care about. No one is trying to have Classic WoW to be the most popular game in the world. It's not for everyone. We know that.
Today. If this game released today with no nostalgia, I don't think it would catch on.
I disagree with that.
I can wait a second. What else are you doing, you know? I can wait.
You can't know that?
I'm assuming you clicked it. Players.
You're right that I can't know that. And you bring up a good point. I'm guessing. But so is he, and so is everybody else.
Yeah, and so am I.
We're all guessing, but that's my guess.
But I would put money on it,
though. Nostalgia.
That's the difference.
Don't get me wrong; it's still a part of old school. Me, mostly the audio.
Maybe Asmon would put money on it too.
Transform right back into being 9 years old.
Wait, is he admitting to nostalgia right now? Because I don't feel this way when I play the game, so this is alien to me.
I feel the same way about WoW. I do. I understand it. And I also know what it is. It's nostalgia.
Training on the
again, this is not my experience.
Guys. I can sense somebody stealing my rock crab every time Borderland comes on, or the body parts track just dropping me directly into the experiment cave, the sound of a whip, or a dragon longsword special attack, or a goblin taking damage. That's the shit that'll hit me with nostalgic feelings sometimes.
So here's the thing, right? The way dopamine releases in the brain when you hear a certain thing, it's attached to a positive experience. That the positive experience doesn't have to be in the distant past, right? If I hear here's a perfect example. The human death sound. It's like, it sounds kind of sexual, right? So in my guild, in classic WoW, not in original vanilla, we created like a track and we put all the sounds of human death sounds like together. It was like, and it was just, one of my raiders would do it all the time when we were in Nax, because we would fight these big mobs of humans, and you would hear just, so, you know, that, so when I hear that, it goes to 2019. It doesn't go to 2004, 2005, when I started in 2005-ish. So, that's what it goes back to, not to the original thing. So you can call anything nostalgic, right? But what I think Asmon's doing is that he's setting up this thing where the nostalgia has to exist in your original playthrough. When all of us, every single one of us, when we have a positive reaction to something we hear that we've heard in the past, it's always in the past. It doesn't have to be 15, 20 years ago. It could be a day ago, right? 5 years ago, a year ago, whatever it is. So all of our experiences are predicated by nostalgia in some way. It doesn't mean that Classic WoW's popularity is attached to feelings when people were, younger in 2004, 2005. It has to do with, it's all a reference to what the experiences you're talking about.
I feel it. And it's not just those 2007
Yes.
memories that trigger nostalgia in people anymore. Old School's been out for 11 years, which is more than enough time to create nostalgic feelings for people. There are players now who will get more nostalgia at Zulrah than they would at the Goblins in
That's the
Lumbridge.
first
That's my point. That's exactly my point.
boss they added, right, into the game.
Maybe they remember creating an Iron Man and playing in 2014, 2015, grinding it for hours,
Yeah,
learning
for Soul
it. And
Boss,
if they
yeah.
went back, they would get hit with it. At the end of the day, it is not a contributing factor to our growing player
There it
base.
is.
I think as adults, a lot of us are coming to this realization that old school RuneScape has the ability to
I think it is a contributing factor. I think it's a massive factor. It is an insurmountable factor that if the game was released today and it had the same gameplay and the same updates, it would not be successful in any capacity.
We have no way to
I don't
test that
think it would
hypothesis,
have
Asmon.
probably 50% of the success, if not even way less. I think also the same thing about WoW. I think that if Classic WoW was released in the year 2024, it would probably have less than 10% of the success that it did in 2004.
I wholly disagree with that. Less than 10%? No. You're not giving Classic WoW its due credit. It's a simple game. It's an imperfect game. But it's a fun, interactive sandbox. And that is hard to find nowadays. And I think that's the point. Is Classic WoW, if it was released today, we have to assume it would have some updates as of today's technology, right? So there would be no nostalgia attached to So what I'm trying to say is that the artistic design would probably be completely different. So it's hard to put your mind in that space. But I would be hard pressed to think that it would do 10% of its original, interest today. I think it would be as successful, maybe a little bit less, than it was in 2004.
Or 2005. That's what I think. It was re-released. It was, in the context of it being a nostalgic game. Yes. Same with Diablo 2. Yeah.
I will agree, Asmon, that it was re-released in the scope of nostalgia. But the interactions that came out of that were wholly different from the interactions of 2004.
respect your time while also having the capability of consuming all of it whenever you let it, which is really nice.
Still gonna get some XP while I can, so.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be on my phone.
Okay.
This is my point. This is why it's a fun game. You can get on your phone and still kill bosses and do shit and get epic loot. That's why it's fun. And yes, there are hyper competitive gamers now that didn't exist in 2004. And those people won't like Classic WoW. But most people who have a life will like Classic WoW because you can get bosses down nowadays with all the knowledge that exists without investing your entire life into it.
There's so many levels of attention that you can do
Just a
depending
big
on what
fat guy?
activity is going on in the
There's a
game.
chick?
You
I don't
could
even
be
know.
AFK for 20 minutes doing
Yeah.
something while still progressing your account.
Exactly.
Or you could be hands on your F keys and mouse doing some crazy ass boss mechanics. And there's so many more things that are in between those. There's so much to do in this game. I think a lot of MMO players out there are looking for that number go up feeling. And I really don't think there's many games that do it better than this one. That
Yeah.
famous RuneScape quote, "You never quit, you only take breaks," just holds up.
How many times have we heard that? How many times have we heard that? And yes, you could say it about any form of World of Warcraft. But how many? But you know, it's so that hits so hard for someone like me. I don't know for sure if I'll ever not. I can't say for sure I'll never play again, right? I know for sure I won't be at the investment level that I did before, ranking and rating at the level I did. But that quote, why does that quote exist? Is it nostalgia? No. No, I do not agree with that statement.
Year after year, old school's early game and mid game is always going to have that sense of.
I think he's right. I do. I think he's right about that. And I think the same
He's
thing
gonna say
happens
it.
with WoW. But I think only quitting and taking breaks actually plays into the nostalgia argument pretty
I disagree with that.
People took a break, they come back, and it's easier for them to come back because it's familiar to them because of the nostalgia.
Familiarity.
He's about to, hold on, let me just let him go.
It truly is
Yes.
always waiting for you.
Familiarity is not the same thing as nostalgia. Familiarity is a comfort that's associated with understanding the game mechanics. I don't think so. You can say they're related, but nostalgia is the yearning to go back to the past and re-experience the past, which you already established is impossible, right? It's the going back to a comfortable environment to experience new things that you haven't experienced before. What will the next playthrough look like? Who will I play with this time? Will I roll a rogue or a mage? Will I go alliance or horde? New experiences in a familiar framework. That is gaming. That's just gaming.
I'm not trying to turn this into some ad for old school RuneScape, but I just think it's important for the MMO world to understand that there's about a million things that RuneScape gets right that a lot of other games could take from. So to directly respond to Asmon saying that if this game came out today, it would not be as popular as it is, I humbly disagree. If graphics
Same.
We'll see. Let's see how Brighter Shores does. Let's find out. My perspective is that I don't really like arguing with people with like theoreticals. I'm completely confident about my opinion.
And that's great, Asmon. But again, you have to look back at the ecological example. If a niche exists and there's already something in that niche, it's incredibly hard to displace it.
I'll take it to the bank. I think that whenever any game that is a clone of RuneScape ever comes out, it will not even have 10% of the success of RuneScape.
Yes.
And I think that one of the biggest driving factors of old school RuneScape and classic World of Warcraft is nostalgia. And I'll even...
It's niche adaptation. It's evolutionary biology. It goes back to that. You can't... It's very hard to displace a species that already exists in a niche.
even go farther. I think the same thing about Halo. I think that if Halo 5 and Halo Infinite had come out and people didn't have nostalgia for Halo 2 and 3, the games would be considered garbage jokes.
That's because they are garbage. They're not re-releases of Halo 1 and Halo 2.
That's the truth.
And all these Unreal Engine 5 projects have taught me anything. It's that now more than ever, graphics don't mean shit.
They don't.
We're getting a greater and greater
Graphics do absolutely matter, but they have to meet a certain, like, threshold. It's not like...
Graphics are good if the game's good. Graphics are bad if the game sucks. Now, that sounds like a stupid statement, but it's true in the human mind. Graphics don't mean shit unless they're attached to a good game.
Like, the better the trees are, the better the game is. But graphics do matter.
for this place. This is a crazy hot take, but I will stand by it. I think old school RuneScape will probably outlive almost every other MMORPG. And
Agreed.
I'm going to say it, including World of Warcraft.
Why? Blizzard's
Well, that's because Blizzard fucking sucks.
doing their best job to make sure that he's right.
See?
You don't believe me? I mean, just ask World of Warcraft players. They're right here.
Yep.
That's all I've got for today. Take it easy.
That was a good video, man.
Yep.
I'll make sure it's in the description of this video, as well as Asmongold's. But you know where to find Asmongold. If you don't, you're crazy.
I like Jimmy a lot.
So do
I
I.
think that if Brighter Shores comes out, and it retains a player base that is larger than 20% of RuneScape OSRS 30 days after launch, if it does that, and I'm wrong, I will play RuneScape on my stream.
It won't happen, Asmon, because of the niche thing I was talking about before. You can't displace people that easily. They may go try it, but they'll go back to something that is something that they have people that they already know exist in, and in an environment that's comfortable. That this is not nostalgia, right? So nostalgia, we've already established that nostalgia is an impossible thing. So I think you were right, though, hitting upon the point of familiarity, and that is a different thing, in my opinion, and it has to do with the niche system, or the niche toy example that we used.
OSRS on my stream. I will. I'm very confident, in my opinion. I think that I'm right. I do. Clip it. Yeah, there it is. Shipped already. And yeah, Starforge Lincoln. Yeah, we actually did a collab with OSRS. I think OSRS is a great game. I think that OSRS is I think they do quests better than any other MMO that I've played personally. I think that they do a lot of things that are right. So I don't want people to think that I'm trying to downplay OSRS and say that it's a bad game. I don't think that it's a bad game at all. Like, I think Classic WoW is the greatest MMO ever made.
Agreed.
Personally, like, the combat in OSRS I'm not really a big fan of. But for Classic WoW, I do really enjoy it.
But this is someone who has never played EverQuest, so.
And that being said, I think that it's massively commendable. Like, it's incredible, the success that RuneScape OSRS has had. And I don't want to take away from that in any capacity. I think the game is great, right? It's an amazing accomplishment, right? And I think that, like, it's interesting to hear, like, kind of like how his situation was, like, or OSRS situation, like his, involvement with it, is so much of it mirrors exactly the World of Warcraft thing, right? All the way down to, like, the petition, the viewers, like
almost
signing
eerie.
it, just like everything about it. It was like 1-to-1. It was like really cool. It's like almost like an alternate reality. So I didn't know a lot of that history. That was really, really cool. Arguing with fanboys is useless. Well, that's why and that's why I said, right? Because, like, I
will acknowledge my bias. Of course I will. And that is something that we all have. We all have inherent biases of some kind. And I will consider myself a fanboy. But I can tell you my own experiences for sure, right? And what pulls me back in is the excitement of something new, not the excitement of something old.
I can realize that people will not see this because they don't want to. So I want to show it to them. You can't see it. All right, let's see. We're gonna prove it right here. That's the way I see it. They're closer to it. Exactly. Yeah. And so that Brighter Shores is different, right? It is always something that's different. I don't think the reality is that. Why is it different, and how does that make it worse or better? That's what I described. It's better. Yeah, Brighter Shores won't prove anything. It will prove that a game that's made in this style without the nostalgia would not be able to hold a player base, which is what we're not be able to hold a large player base and grow.
Again, you're right, but I think the reason for that is that people are already in a situation where they enjoy it, and there's people that play that game that they know. And you could say that stems from nostalgia, right? That's fine. You can use my toy example and say, well, that's nostalgia driving that too. But it's a disservice to say that it's a bigger part of that pie than the quality of the game itself and the interactions that are allowed in that game.
I like Jimmy a lot. Jimmy's come into my chat before, and I think he's really passionate about the game. And I hope that he doesn't think that I'm, like, shitting on the game or, like, saying the game's bad. I don't think the game is bad, but I think that as games have evolved over the years, there have been things that have been improved with games, such as, like, combat or, like, graphics to an extent, right? These graphics are... I actually don't think the graphics in this game are, like, really that problematic, but I can see where a lot of people would not like them, especially with, like, the character models, etc.
Yeah, it's a little
if this came out now, it would be on mobile. That's a good point, actually. You're right. Can you play OSRS on mobile? You can? Good. I didn't know if they made phones good enough for that. That's why I had to have a Starforge PC for OSRS, because of the high graphical demand. But yeah, We can watch this WoW video. I will watch Jimmy's WoW video.
So will I, guys.
You know, there are
Maybe
new
that's
games
the next
like Burger
video.
and Cats that copy the banana concept. Yeah, of course. I mean, if I was a game dev, I'd want to get the free money too. Yeah, I mean, 100%. I'm not surprised at all. Video RuneScape.
Guys, so this was a lot of fun. I had a great time. I'm really liking this format, and I will promise to do this once a week when I have time. They might miss a week or two, but I'm really looking for interaction from you all. What do you want me to watch? What reactions do you want me to see? Again, I have we'd like to keep this gaming centric for most of the videos, but I think a good 25% can be something else, scientific. I'd love to debunk some pseudoscience that's out there, or maybe go over some social issues. Not too spicy, please. So, I think this would be a cool thing to do. And so in the comments, please put suggestions, but also your opinions on this particular video. Is it nostalgia that drives the popularity of games like Old School RuneScape and Classic WoW? Do you want a fresh, unadulterated version of the game again? Do you want a fresh? I also want to see what your thoughts on that. Guys, have a great week. It's really good to be making a video again. I miss you all. And I'll tell Defcamp you're asking for him. He's actually coming to LA this week. So it might be 2 weeks before you see another video from me, because I won't be able to do much while he's here, because my family is going to be here this week. But look out for a video the week after. Have a good one. Keep on, keep on, and grinding.